Ma'am, I'm done.
I'm done. Done.
I'm done.
Okay, I hope everyone is done, right?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now let's just start with the chapter basically. So your chapter is production function. Okay. So as the name suggests, the first thing is that, ma'am, what is a production? Right? The chapter is production function. So the question comes like, ma'am, what is production and what is the production function? Okay. So let's just do it with the help of notes. So see, production. The process of transformation of input into outputs is known as production. That means, for example, over here you have a wood, piece of wood, and you will convert this wood into a chair. Maybe this is a chair, right? So this is the production. This is the whole process. The whole process where you are transforming the inputs into output. Okay, that is known as production. Okay. Now coming to production function. So the functional relationship between input and output is known as production function. Wherever you are getting this word function, always I have told you that it is basically the functional relationship, right? Remember one thing, output depends on input, right? For example, if you chair can be of two types. It can be a wooden chair, it can be a plastic chair, right? If you are putting as an input wood, you will get a wooden chair. If you are putting plastic, you will get a plastic chair, right? So output always depends on input. Okay. But remember one thing, change in input depends on change in output, right? This line is very much important. For example, over here, change in input means, for example, output is basically the area you are getting it, right? For example, earlier you were demanding one chair, so you put it one wood. Okay. Now you decided to produce 5 chairs, right? There is a change in output, right? So because of this, if you want 5 chairs, then you have to put 5 woods, right? 5 pieces of wood, right? So because of change in output, change in input get effect. So you have to remember this. Remember in the sense like because of what is affecting. So see, output always depends on input. Whatever you are putting, that is what you will get, right? If you are studying well, you will get good score. If you are not studying well, you won't be getting good score, right? So your output depends on how much work or how much efforts you are putting, right? But change in input depends on change in output. So if your input is changing, it is changing because there is change in output. Like now you are demanding 5 chairs, right? So because of this, you will change your input. You will put 5 piece of wood instead of 1 piece of wood. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Others?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Siona, you are getting it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I think Sayed is facing issues. He just left. Okay. Now remember one thing. It can be, okay. So first of all, write this down. Then I will explain you. See, in this entire chapter, you will only relate a scenario, which is basically a marriage hall. Okay. A marriage is going on in this entire chapter and we will relate everything with that one. So you will first write chapter. Don't write number because it can differ from person to person. Chapter production function. First production. The process of transformation of this and production function this. This basically you people are aware of that. But those who are new, this is basically this triangle is known as delta. Okay, this is basically change. Okay, so instead of writing change, I have written delta, right? So that means change. Okay, so in price elasticity and price elasticity of demand, price elasticity of supply, you will get this delta again and again. So you have to remember this whenever you're getting a triangle. You won't say, ma'am, this is triangle, this is delta, and this delta is basically the change. For example, earlier you have 10 rupees, now you have 50 rupees. So what is the change between you? 40 rupees extra you got, right? So that 40 rupees is the change. So that 40 rupees is your delta. Clear? Yes, no,
Yes, ma'am.
no. Okay. Okay, so you can quickly write it down. Okay, everyone done?
Yes, teacher. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now coming to next part, which is basically the output and the function input. So remember one thing, you can even say classification of factors. Okay. This can be the heading, or it can be basically input. Okay. So see, factors are basically if you will put something, you will get in return, right? So it can be types of input or it can be types of factors. Okay. So remember one thing, as I told you in the entire chapter, we will be taking a scenario, a marriage is going on. Okay. So first of all, the thing is that it can be types of input. It will be two types, or factors. It can be factors or it can be input. So factor also, it will be two types of factor. One is fixed and one is variable. And input also, it will be of two types, fixed and variable. So remember one thing. For example, this is the marriage hall. Marriage is going on. Okay. So this area, this is fixed now. No matter whether 10 people will come to your place or 100 people will come to your place, this will remain same. Right? Yes or no? Right? So this is fixed. But the number of people which will be coming, they are variable. It can be 10, it can be 20, it can be 30. Right? They keep on changing. The number of chairs you will be putting over here. Right? They all are variable. Right? So fixed means does not change with change in level of output. So remember one thing, whenever you are understanding this, you have to remember the example of a marriage hall. Okay. See, fixed is, for example, earlier a marriage is going on. This is the hall. Earlier it was decided that 10 people will come. Okay. But now suddenly what happened? Suddenly you got an information that, okay, 20 people are coming. So can you change this area? No. Right? Because this is fixed. No matter whether 10 people will come or 20, you cannot change this. So does fixed input does not change with change in level of output. Earlier, the output was 10. 10 people were coming, but now output is 20. But you cannot change this area. Right? But variable factor change with the change in level of output. But over here, the variable factor you can change. Earlier, 10 you ordered 10 chapatis. Right? But now as 20 people are coming, so you said that we need 20 chapatis. So you change everything. Right? So these are variable factors. Okay. Now, these quantity cannot be changed in a short period. Short period is basically, for example, today is your marriage. Right? So today onwards, you got to know that, 20 more people are coming. So you cannot change it. Right? But for example, in a short period, you cannot change it. But for example, next year you have your marriage. Right? So next year when you have your marriage, so of course today, like when you sent the invitation, you got that 10 people were coming, but suddenly now 20 people confirmed. So you can change it. Right? You can cancel this hall and you can order, you can book some big hall, right? The marriage hall, right? So, but in short period of time, you cannot change it, right? But here, their quantity can be changed in the short period. So over here, you can change, right? Earlier, for example, you got to know 20 more people are coming. So you hired 20 more people, 10 more laborers for that, for cooking, right? Plus you bought this, whatever ingredients are needed for cooking and all that, you got it. So you can change it in short period of time, but in short period of time, you cannot change the fixed input. Examples are building, plant, machinery, land, permanent stuff, and everything. You cannot change it. But a variable like raw material. Raw material, for example, if you want to bake a cake, you need sugar, you need bread. These are the raw material, right? And temporary labor, transport. You can change all this thing, but not this thing. Right? So this is the difference between fixed input and variable input, or you can write fixed factors or variable factors. Clear? So you will write hashtag difference between fixed input slash factor and variable input slash variable factor. Clear? You got the difference between both?
Yes, ma'am.
Girls, boys? No, yes, tell me.
Ma'am, could you explain the difference between the short run and long run?
Yeah, that we will be doing, don't worry. But right now, only just understand the short run. Okay? We have the next topic for that, short run and long run. Over very short, short and long run. Don't worry about that. Okay? After this, we'll be discussing that only. Okay? But right now, it's a difference between this fixed factor and variable factor. So you have to remember two difference. One is that it will not change with level of output, but it will change with level of output. Here, in short period of time, right? You cannot change it. But here in long, this you can change in short period of time. Examples. Clear? So don't worry, like I'll be explaining you that like after this topic we'll be covering time period. So don't worry about that. Is this clear, the difference between fixed and variable? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, others? Labiba, Ritika, Jaina?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. So you can quickly write it down.
Done, ma'am.
The others, you are also done? Yes, no, maybe.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Now I hope everyone is done. So now let's just do the time dimension. Okay. So time dimension is basically, we have three types of time. One is very short, one is short, and one is long period. Okay, so let's just understand this one by one. So very, very important concept, students. So remember, like, learn it in a good way. Okay, very short. So over here, output, right? And these are the factors. Okay, so see, over here, the output depends on basically the input. Okay, and over here, input, as I told you, it is of two types. One is fixed and one is variable. So remember one thing, if it is like x and f, this is fixed one, and if it is x and v, this is variable one. So if I put a bar over here, this is basically the bar. Okay, this means that this is constant, this will not change, and only this will change. Okay, if I put bar on both, that means both will not change. But if I put bar on this and not on this, that means this will remain constant and this will grow. This will change. Okay, so what happens in very short period of time? Very short period of time, it can be like, for example, today you have your wedding, right? And in morning itself, I'm telling you that, okay, now 20 people will come. So this is very short period of time. So over here, output depends on input, you know, but it has over here, what can you do? You cannot change fixed variable as well as variable factor, right? You cannot change it. For example, from morning itself function starts, right? Everything is well arranged. Now suddenly somebody told you that, okay, 20 people are coming. So it's not easy for you to change everything. So over here, you cannot change fixed factor as well as the variable factor. You cannot change them. That's why there's a bar over here, right? Because it is possible to suddenly arrange 10 more labors. No, it is not possible, right? So this time period is too short that production cannot be increased. That is, both the variable factor, both the factors are constant. Okay, you have two factors. One is your variable factor, one is your fixed factor, right? So this time period is too short that you cannot change the production. That means both the factor you cannot change it. Okay, but now coming to short period of time, over here output, this OP is output. Output depends on, again, input, that can be variable and fixed. Fixed factor remains fixed, but variable factor you can change. Okay, so in this time period, production can be increased only by increasing the variable factor, and fixed factor remains constant. So variable factor, like for example, so next week you have your marriage. Okay, and suddenly now somebody told you that, okay, now 10 people will not come, 20 people will come. So yeah, it's easy for you, within a week you can arrange 10 more laborers and everything, right? So you can, over here, you cannot change fixed factor. Again, the marriage hall you cannot change, right? But other factors like, the chairs and you can say the laborers and everything you can arrange. But long period is, for example, it's like today, like next year you have your this thing, marriage. Okay, so over here both you can change fixed factor as well as variable factor. So in this time period, production can be increased by increasing the quantity of fixed as well as the variable factor, both, right? You can change the labors. Earlier 10 labors were there because 10 people were coming. Now 20 people are coming, so 20 labors are there, right? Plus you have like 3 or 5 months, so you can cancel this hall and you can book some other place which is basically a bigger one or the larger space, right? So this is basically the time dimension. It can be very short and long period. So from where here, what you have to remember, in very short period you cannot increase production because these two factors both you cannot change. But in short period you can increase production, but only because of variable factor and not because of fixed factor. But in long period you can change the production with the help of both the factor, variable as well as the fixed factor. Clear?
Yes,
Okay, I hope everyone got it. Any query or anything you want to ask, or you are not aware, like you are not getting anything?
Ma'am,
Surely?
could you only
Hmm?
explain the short period one again?
Okay. Short period is basically, for example, today is your marriage. Okay. From morning itself, the function starts, right? And in morning, somebody came to you and somebody told you that earlier 10 guests were coming, now 20 guests are coming. So is it possible for you to arrange labors? Labor is basically the variable factor, right? Labors, chairs, these are basically the variable factors, right? So is it possible for you to arrange 10 more labors in just 1 hour? No, right? Because of course you need to, like for example, if maybe next week you have your marriage, you can do it, but suddenly somebody told you within an hour it's not possible to arrange this chair, and variable factor you cannot, but fixed like the hall, you cannot even think to change, cancel that hall and book the other hall in 1 hour or maybe in 30 minutes, right? So that's a very short period. Over here, you cannot increase your production, no chances, right? So why? Because both the factors are constant. You cannot change any factor. So how will you change your production, right? But in short and long period, you have little bit chances to change the production because over here you can change variable factor, but over here you can change both the factors, so you can increase the production as per your choice. Clear?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. So you can quickly write it down, time dimension. Okay, and then very short. Of course, it's not possible for you girls, so you can make it like this first, and after writing this, you will write second, and after this, you will write third. Okay, so don't no need to make it like this because it will be very much congested in your notebooks. You can do it like this, first, second, third. Clear?
Ma'am.
Done.
Yes, teacher.
Okay. Others? Done.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ritika and Janab, you are also done. Okay. Now coming to next thing, which is production function. Okay, very important. Production function is basically the functional relationship we already did. Okay, so there are basically two facts. This is what you will write, but luckily you don't have this in your syllabus. You have only this. So remember one thing: there are two types of returns. Okay, returns is basically whatever you are. See, for example, if you are, let's just say you are making a shake. Okay, if you will put mango, you will get mango shake. If you will put strawberry, you will get strawberry shake, right? Whatever you are putting, you will get a return, right? So law of return can be of two types. It can be like in the short run and in the long run. Short run you already know, very short, like short period, and long is a long one. So in a short run you get law of return to a factor, or it is known as law of variable proportion. Okay, and in a long run you get law of return to scale. This is what you have to return. Okay, so there are two types of law of return. One is in short run you get law of return to a factor. Okay, and over here you can say short is a factor only you can affect, but scale you know that it is longer one, so it is a long period time. Law of returns to a scale. This law of return to a factor is also known as law of variable proportion. Okay, so if I ask you what are two types of law of return, you will say, ma'am, there are two types of return, which is law of return to a factor and other is law of return to scale. Okay, luckily you don't have this in your, you don't have to read everything about this because this is not a part of this, but you will only like study this. Okay, but if I'll ask you one more question, one marker can be asked, like law of return to a factor is in short run period or for a long run period. So you will say, ma'am, it is for short run period. Okay, and law of return to a scale is for a long run period. Clear? So you will write this law of return to a factor, and then you will make a differentiation like this: short run, long run. And over here what is happening, you know, in a short run fixed factor are always constant, only variable factor works, right? And over here both variable as well as fixed factor works. And then you will write law of return to a factor, law of return to a scale. This law of factor to a return, return to a factor is also known as law of variable proportion, and very important this. Okay, quickly write it down, then we'll start with law of variable proportion.
Done, ma'am.
Okay, others, you are also done?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, so now let's just quickly move to next thing, which is basically first we will do law of variable proportion. Okay, so let's just do what is law of variable proportion. So see, whenever we are studying any law, right, you have different stages for that. Law, that means like different stages in the sense like you will have first of all define it, then you have to write assumption, then you have to draw the table, okay, which is known as schedule, and then the graph. These are the 4 stages you have to write or you have to show in any law. Okay, so again it's a law. So first you will define it, second you will write the assumption, third you will draw the schedule, and then you will draw the graph. Okay, right now whatever I will be telling you, right, you don't have to think like, ma'am, what is TP, what is TP, what is TP, what is MP, right, because that we will be doing, right. For a time being you will only understand what the TP is doing, what MP is doing. Okay, don't have to go in deep, ma'am, what is TP, what is TP, what is MP. Okay, that we will be discussing in detail, what is TP, what is AP, what is MP, everything. Okay, so let's just understand what is a law of variable proportion says. It is also known as return to a factor, as I have written over here. So according to this law, as we put more and more number of variable factor with fixed factor. Okay, so for example, over here, this is the marriage hall. This is fixed. You are adding people. Earlier there was 10, now it is 20, then it's 30, you are adding it. Okay, so what does it say? It is saying that according to this law, as we put more and more number of variable factor with fixed factor, TP, you don't know what is TP, just remember how TP behave. First, TP increases at increasing rate. Okay, this is basically increases at increasing rate. Then TP increases at diminishing rate, and finally TP falls. What is happening? TP is increasing at increasing rate, TP, then second TP increases at diminishing rate. Now ma'am, what is increasing rate and diminishing rate? So for example, 10, 20, 30, 40. So you can see this, they are increasing. Okay, let's just don't take this example. Let's just take some other example. Wait. Okay, so see, for example, it is 2, then 4, then 8, then 16. So what you can see, it is increasing, right? 2 to 4, the difference is 2, and 4 to 8, the difference is 4, and 8 to 16, the difference is 8. So you can see it is increasing at increasing rate, right? This is what. But for example, if I told you others, 2, then 8, then let's just take
10.
Yeah, 10. Okay, then we can take 6. Okay, let's just take 9. Okay, so over here you can see 2 to 8. What's the difference? 6. 8, 9, 10. What's the difference? 2. And over here 1. Right? So over here, though it is okay, wait. Though it is increasing till here, right? But what is happening? Can anyone tell me if it is 11 over here? What is happening? They are increasing but at diminishing rate. The rate is decreasing. Earlier you were gaining 6, then 2, then 1. It is increasing, though you can say 2 to 8, 8 to 10, and 10 to 11. They are increasing but at diminishing rate. Yes or no?
Yes.
Right? So the rate at which they are doing. So first of all, TP will increase at increasing rate. Then TP will increase. I'm not saying it will not increase, but at diminishing rate. Okay. Then after that, TP will start falling. This is the relationship. And also MP rises. MP will keep on increasing till it reaches to a certain level. And after that, it will start falling. Clear? So this is the law of variable proportion. So if I'll say you what is law of variable proportion, you will say according to this law, as we put more and more a number of variable factors with the fixed factor initially, in starting, TP will increase at increasing rate. So instead of writing this, you can even write increasing at increasing rate. Okay. Then TP starts increasing at diminishing rate. Finally, TP starts falling. Okay. And also MP rises. Okay. Reaches to a certain level and starts falling. Clear? So over here you can see TP is basically increasing at increasing rate. Then again it is increasing but at diminishing rate, become maximum and starts falling. Okay, MP is increasing, okay, then reaches to a certain level and then starts falling, become maximum, become 0 and then starts falling. Clear? So this is what, so don't worry about this, I'll explain you that. But first of all, you will write law of variable proportion, this, and then assumption. Whenever you start state a law, there are some assumptions which you need to take in mind or which you need to keep in mind. See, one factor input is variable, right? So you have two factors, one is variable and one is fixed. So over here, one factor will always be a variable factor. Okay, then all other factors are fixed. So for example, you have 4-5 factors. So out of this, one will be variable and other will be fixed. Okay, and remember one thing, it is always in short run production function. As I already told you, you have two factor law of factors, right? So this variable law of variable comes in short run part, right? And factor proportion is variable. Unit of variable factor are homogeneous. Homogeneous in the sense, for example, you are for example, 10 more people came. Now you want chairs. So you were unable to arrange chairs. So instead of chairs, you just bought tables. No, it should be homogeneous. If you are purchasing chair, you will only purchase chair. Though we can sit on table as well, but no, you will be purchasing only homogeneous product. Homogeneous means same. Then technique of production does not change. So for example, earlier 10 people coming, so you were baking the cake with the help of your hands. Okay, so you were able to produce only 10 cakes, but now 20 people are coming. So it doesn't mean that instead of using it with hands, you will bring a machine. That okay, you don't have to hire many laborers, only one labor can produce 20 cakes. No, the technique of production will remain same. It will not change. It's not like if you want to change the technique, you can suddenly change it. No, it will always remain same. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so first of all, you will write this law of variable proportion, then we'll do the next thing. I'll scroll it down, you will write the assumption.
Teacher, could you explain what do you mean by techniques? Techniques of production does not change.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, could you please explain what do you mean by techniques in the last line? Techniques of production does not change.
Technique means, for example, for cooking, you have two options, right? You can use machine or you can cook on your own, right? By using your hands. Similarly, for washing clothes, you have two techniques. One is labor, like you will be using your hands, right? And other you can use machine, right? Yes or no? So that is a technique. So over here, for example, a marriage is going on, right? So suddenly, like I have only two labors, okay? Because 10 people were coming, so I have two labors that were enough. But now suddenly I realize 20 more people are coming. So it's not like that you have to change the labor. Like from two, you have to keep them four, right? Because now 10 more people are coming. But it's not like that. Earlier you were using your hands to cook the food. Now you decided that you will use machine to cook the food. Okay, so you cannot change that. If you are using labor, you will keep on using labor. If you are using machine from starting, you will keep on using machine like this. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, students, you will also write this. The proportion between the fixed and variable factor goes on changing. See, okay. So that is why it is known as law of variable proportion. Why? Because see, for example, if this is a marriage hall, earlier 10 people were coming. One marriage hall, 10 people. Then one marriage hall, 20 people. Right? So it is keep on changing. That's why it is known as law of variable proportion. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
None, ma'am.
Okay, girls, done. Everyone is done.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, great. So, like tomorrow, we will be doing, like in the next class, we'll be doing the graph as well as the schedule. Okay. So, this is very important. If you are lucky enough, you will be getting a direct question that state law of variable proportion. So, if you are lucky, then like most of the students, they score full marks for this. This comes for 4 marks or maybe sometimes 6 marks. So, this you cannot miss at any cost. Okay. And rest of the things you have to study because sometimes nobody knows what your examiner can ask. Okay, so you have to be prepared for everything, revise well, and in our next class we'll just continue with this chapter only. Okay.
Okay, teacher.
Yeah, okay, then students, will meet in the next class. Siona, you are getting the things.
Yes, teacher. Tomorrow the class will be at 5, right? Same.
Tomorrow won't be a class, it will be on TTS. So today is Tuesday, Tuesday or Thursday you will be getting the class, next class. Okay,
And
TTS
then
will be your
Saturday.
class. Yes. Okay, and in case if I want to take your extra class, I'll be taking it on Friday.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Okay then, students. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you, teacher.
Bye.
Yeah. Good evening, Akshay. How are you? Akshay, can you hear me?
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Okay, so today we have to start the new chapter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't checked your test yet. I was not getting time, but I'll just let you know by this week itself. Okay. So how was your
ma'am.
test? It was good. It
Yes,
was
ma'am.
easy,
Those are
right?
direct questions only, ma'am.
Yeah,
Just
direct
relations
questions.
and all they will ask.
Like in this chapter you won't be getting any like you will be getting direct question, but in cost chapter you will be getting question like why, like of course the graph you have to remember, right? But along with this they ask you the question why it is like this, why your graph is going upward or why it is S-shaped or something like that. So be prepared for that. Okay.
Okay.
So today we'll be starting, just a minute, I'll just share my screen. Oh, it is here. Actually you can see my screen now.
Yeah, it's loading, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Now I can see.
Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So now basically okay, so now we are going to start with the cost chapter. Okay, so this is what you have to study in cost. First of all, you have to study short run cost, total fixed cost, total variable cost, average fixed cost. See, first of all, you have to study cost, and it can be like the total cost. It will be there. Total cost is of two types: total fixed and total variable, right? And then average cost. Average cost again two types: average fixed cost, average variable cost. Then marginal cost. You have to understand the meaning of all this thing, and plus you have to understand the. So this will be your syllabus. So you can quickly write it down. Okay, chapter cost,
Okay, ma'am.
and this is the syllabus. Okay. Akshay, am I audible to you?
Ma'am, you're lagging a little bit, ma'am, but I understood, ma'am. I have to write this down, ma'am.
Okay, okay, okay.